This strategy is up 11% live since January 1st, while the market is down 9%, with a max drawdown of 6%, and more than 650 trades have already been executed. But what makes it interesting is not just the return, it's the structure behind it. This is DMSV1, CastleGate's live intraday short strategy, built to identify structurally weak stocks, wait for the right intraday setup, and then express that view systematically. In this video, I'll show you how this strategy actually works, what changed in this version, and what the live performance is telling us right now. At CastleGate, many strategies begin with the behavior that keeps repeating in the market. Here, the observation was clear. Some stocks stay under pressure for weeks, they keep printing red candles, they remain weak on the broader structure, and when they show short bursts of intraday strength, those moves often become opportunities to fade rather than signals to follow. That led to a straightforward question: can we systematically identify structurally weak names, wait for temporary intraday strength, and short that move in a disciplined way? That is the foundation of DMS. At its core, DMS is an intraday short selling system built around persistent downside structure plus temporary intraday strength. The updated code makes that very clear. The strategy first runs a daily BOCPD screener to identify stocks with continued downside drift and relatively stable bearish structure. Then it runs a second intraday BOCPD screener to find names with positive short-term drift, in other words, stocks that are still weak in the larger context but showing enough intraday strength to create a fade setup. So the logic is not just find weak stocks and short them, it's more refined than that. First, identify weakness in the broader structure, then wait for the intraday move that makes the short entry more attractive. The workflow is layered. The strategy starts with the liquid NSE equity universe and applies broad tradability filters on market cap, price, and volume. Then it adds a 6-part weakness framework that includes red candle dominance, volume confirmation, and super trend context. The strategy also looks for stocks with strong red candle behavior over the recent window and uses those filters before any trade is placed. Then, after the daily and intraday BOCPD stages, the strategy ranks candidates and selects the strongest setups. So the process is not random and it's not one-dimensional. It filters, confirms, ranks, and then executes. Once the shortlist is ready, the entry framework is very deliberate. The strategy places market short orders during a 9:25 to 9:35 window after the daily and intraday screening is complete. Position sizing is fixed at 8% of total portfolio value per trade, which means every entry is expressed with a clear and consistent allocation framework. The code also targets a top candidate set and blocks repeated entry for the same symbol on the same day. That gives the strategy a very clean execution structure. Screen first, confirm the setup, size systematically, and enter in a controlled morning window. This is where the updated version becomes especially interesting. The code shows 3 distinct exit layers. First, there is a BOCPD regime change exit. So if the intraday behavior stops supporting the original short thesis, the strategy exits. Second, there is a 2-stage profit floor trailing stop where the stop becomes tighter as the trade develops and protects more profit once the move becomes meaningful. Third, there is a hard stop loss derived from 0.7 times the stock's recent average down day open to close move. So the stop is linked to the stock's own behavior rather than a flat rule. And on top of all of that, every open short is closed at 3:05, keeping the strategy fully intraday. That layered risk framework gives the strategy much more shape than a basic intraday short model. Now let's come to the most important part: live performance. From January 1st to April 13th, 26, DMSV1 has delivered an 11% return, generating approximately 32.7 thousand in gross P&L while keeping max drawdown at 6%. What gives that result more depth is the way it has been built. This performance comes from 657 live trades, around 55% win rate, a Sharpe ratio of 2, and a Sortino ratio 2.8. So you're not looking at a strategy driven by a small number of isolated trades. You're looking at a system where the underlying thesis is being expressed repeatedly across a large number of live executions, with returns building steadily while drawdown stays controlled. For an intraday strategy, that combination matters. It shows repeatability, meaningful trade depth, and a risk profile that remains in proportion to the result. DMSV1 is a strong example of a strategy evolving from a simple market observation into a more refined live system. A clear behavioral thesis, a multi-stage screening framework, disciplined intraday execution, and a live track record that shows the design translating in real conditions. If you want to explore the full strategy in more detail, check the description for the strategy document and supporting material. And if you have any questions, reach out to us directly on WhatsApp. We'd be happy to walk you through the framework, the live profile, and how we run the strategy.